Before we start the introduction of the featured speaker, Shawn, you're already in the back. We need to. Shawn, come back up here. Yeah, Shawn, come back up here. Come back here.
Okay, who's trying to say?
I wanted to call through the side door.
Oh, okay. You want to do something crazy? Well, now it's time for our featured speaker, and obviously you're a tradition here at the GNA, and Shawn's already headed back there. Our tradition here at the GNA is that we send our featured speaker all the way to the back, and who can tell me why we do that, guys? Why do we do that?
Give them a grand entrance.
That's right. So that way you can make that grand entrance. So Shawn, start walking all the way to the back, man. Way past the exit sign. It's a very nice day out there today. Very nice day. So I met Shawn Dormish. Did I say your last name correctly?
Yeah.
A few months ago, so I believe you were the one who introduced me to him, right? Because you two were working together. And you know, when I first met Shawn, you know what I really liked about him is he had like a crazy outgoing personality like myself, and he's somebody that I could very, very easily get along with. So we ended up having a one-on-one. It was a couple of weeks back here at the Coop after the meeting, and just really got to know a lot more about him and what his passion is. And he's actually here today to discuss how to create market uniqueness, differentiation, in your business. But I'd also like you to talk about, you know, what you have in the works coming up, because this gentleman has an exciting fitness program coming up. It's not a network marketing type of fitness, but it's something that he's going to be launching, and it's one of his passions. So on that note, I'd like y'all to please stand up and rise to your feet. Please rise to your feet and give a big warm GNA welcome to Shawn Dormish.
All right, Shawn. Bravo.
I love the shirt.
Why not use the mic?
You don't have to use the mic if you have a loud voice.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, anyways, you guys are in your separate businesses, and we're dealing with one thing. How am I different than everybody else that's in my field? Whether it's securities, whether it's telecommunications, whether it's vision, website development, whatever we're doing, what makes me different than the person who's two doors down from me doing the same thing? And I'm going to start talking about the definitions of three key terms that go into market differentiation and uniqueness. First word, unique. The first definition of unique is existing as only one or the sole example, single, solitary, in type or characteristics, like a unique copy of a manuscript. Only that exists. You look in your market locally, nationally, there's usually a dominant national brand, there's usually a dominant local brand in whatever you're looking at. When I look at fitness, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I see those old posters of Joe Grazzo in the bathrooms looking like this from Power Bodies. He's rebranded his company. I mean, the guy's probably 140 now, but anyway, that's what comes to mind, and that's just something I've seen growing up. And everybody can do that in their specific business, whether it's network marketing, whether it's standalone practice. Second definition, unique, having no like or equal, unparalleled, incomparable. And I'm going to go into a story talking about an example of making yourself the only loaf of bread on the shelf in your business. Number three, limited in occurrence to a given class, situation, area. Creating scarcity for your services, being full, being booked, having limited time. Why would people not want to sit down with somebody who has an open schedule? Right? There's a reason why people have an open schedule. Either they're starting or they're no good. Right? You can create that sensation of fullness. And I would actually encourage you to talk to Stephen Hiller. He actually taught me a very interesting technique to implement this. Limited to a single outcome or result without alternative possibilities. Why do people buy any product or service? For results. Right? Social proof. How do you demonstrate that in whatever you're trying to do? And the funny thing in the fitness business is it's turned into a Me Too industry. So how are you so different than everybody else? I got a boot camp. You got a boot camp. You know, it's a Me Too thing, and everybody's taking their stuff off P90X. Right? What's the difference in that industry? Everybody's doing the same damn thing. And it's very few, but the people who are differentiating, creating uniqueness in what they're doing, the market is noticing that, and the market is gravitating towards that. Right? Are you jack of all trades, master of none, or are you master of one? Right? Able to kind of sideswipe into other, kind of hit some things around the target as well. Last definition, unique. Not typical, unusual. That kind of builds on what we were just talking about. Extraordinary is the second word. Extraordinary. Beyond what is usual, ordinary, regular, or established. Right? Me and Rick Craig were actually talking about the service level that I experienced talking to Hewlett Packard versus talking about CBON. We were in a room, and I believe 2 or 3 people quoted, "It took me a minute to get on the phone. It took me 5 minutes to get my problem resolved." I recall talking to Hewlett Packard for 16 hours to order a battery cord.
Wow.
Right? And I've bought 3 laptops since then, and I've never bought one from them. That's over $2,000 of business that Hewlett Packard didn't get. And who knows across the board how many people that's happened to. Right? But 1 minute service, imagine talking to Comcast. They're legendary for how long they keep you on the phone. You age. You age on the phone with Comcast. AT&T. You know, I think I've blown out 2 cakes talking Comcast. Anyways. Exceptional, unusually excellent or superior. Right? Building that. Oh, actually, I jumped forward. Exceptional. Exceptional character, amount, extent, degree, noteworthy, remarkable. Number 3, outside or additional to the ordinary staff, or to the ordinary. Having a special, often temporary task or responsibility. Anyways, it's just, you know, we're talking about excelling. Exceptional, there's only 2 definitions of this. Forming an exception, a rare instance, unusual, extraordinary. Unusually excellent or superior. So when we're talking about social proof, whatever you provide in your story, social proof naturally gravitates you above what you're looking for. Do you want the plastic surgeon who leaves scars, or the one who doesn't? Right? The one that makes you look as close to natural as possible, or whatever it may be. Anyways, we're talking about this, and I wanted to jump into I'm in a mastermind group for my specific business, and I bounce this off of other business owners, and we kind of fine tune our businesses together, and we're all in separate niches, but in the same industries, the same principles ring true in individual businesses. They tend to be universal, and they tend to be universal in my business, and you'll see that transfer in whatever industry that you're in. But this is called the principle of only loaf of bread on the shelf. So he talks about, specifically, imagine being 5 years old, going to the grocery store with your mom and only finding 1 loaf of bread on the shelf because he grew up in communist Armenia. Right? And he says, what do you do? He said, basically, there's only 1 loaf of bread on the shelf, your family's starving, what do? You buy a damn loaf of bread. Right? No matter how expensive it is. And he talks about, actually quoted this through an email he sent me, and he said, he remembers his mom saying it's overpriced, yet she bought it. Right? There's a reason why my market price for what the regular industry is 50 to 100% more than the rest of the industry. Right? Because I'm positioning myself very strategically. There's a reason why I haven't let my new business's name out yet. Everything's a very strategic thing, positioning, because I'm positioning myself in our industry to be here where everybody else is a Me Too business. Right? Anyways, so now think about the bread aisle in your local grocery store. It's not even a shelf, it's an aisle. Lots of options and choices to pick from, and most people choose bread based on price and quantity, not quality of ingredients. And so the bread companies are attempting to compete on price using cheaper and crappier ingredients. Right? The good news is you're not bread. So you can charge more, command more, and justify it if you know how to be the only loaf of bread on the shelf. So when I sit there, I don't take a combative staff to the rest of the industry, or a combative stance. I just say, you know what? I know what I'm doing, they don't. And really, it's it's more of a drip feed because in your industry, you're excellent in finance, you're excellent in communications, you're excellent in whatever you're at is my area of ignorance, right? People are ignorant in fitness because besides the basic facts, everybody knows just what it is to get by, just enough to get by, but they don't know the nitty-gritty, the details, the time under, the core scientific principles. And there's, there's governing, there's science, there's regulations behind finance, there's principles and science behind vision care, there's principles and science behind website design, whatever it may be. But anyways, if you get caught into the copycat thing, you get lost in the crowd, you're doing a bunch of Me Too marketing, and you're expecting people to know that you are better than everybody else without it being obvious to the industry that you're better than them. So it's not. If you act like an ordinary loaf of bread, you look like an ordinary loaf of bread. If you place your shelf next to everybody else, that's pretty much what you're doing. So how do you end up in a category of one? That's what we're going to talk about. Category of one. So the formula, what separates the best and those who claim to be the best is the best are known for the results they give, whereas the ordinary are known for the commodity they offer. Right? This is when we're getting to why do you do what you do versus this is what I do and make a living. So, pausing for effect, people find that what they do is more of a calling, more of a passion, more of a purpose. And when I implement my fitness business, I'm looking to impact the clients, the trainers, and the industry. I have a four-stage plan of what I'm trying to do as an expansion of starting right here in San Jose. And the reason is all I'm looking to do is what needs does the market not have that I need to fulfill? What can I do different and better than the market that other people in my industry aren't willing to do, that are too lazy to do because they're too busy cookie cuttering everything that they're trying to do? Right? So in other words, the highest paid and most respected people in the industry are known for the amazing results they produce. They're talked about, they have legend stories about them through the community. And the example is another gentleman that's in this mastermind group. On the news, he has a business in Indiana, in the middle of nowhere. And in his business, he's grossing over 6 figures a month for what he's pulling in. And this is fitness, this is one-on-one training. This is a luxury service and frankly an industrial town. What is he doing? He got in, and this is going back to what Edwin was talking about, he got in with the newscasters. Those newscasters don't work for the station, but on his commercials, on his website, those newscasters are visible everywhere because they were on the station for 15 plus years. Right? People want to be where the famous people are, and Edwin is a great source to go to figure out how to get into these circles of influence. I've picked up recently a client who's a circle of influence, and he's talking up to everybody because he's having a fantastic experience. Right? And you have to figure out, how do I do that in my specific industry? How do I give a fantastic experience? Do I take a consultative approach? Do I take a friendship approach? Is it a follow-up approach? What am I doing? Right? Is it a handwritten thank you card? Is it being very receptive to emails, giving under a 1 hour time response during business hours? What makes you exceptional? Anyways, extraordinary business command, top dollar, they have a waiting list, and they're never compared on price and value. So there's actually an excellent book that I just recommended to Stephen. It's called Start With Why. They talk about if you're in a business, you're either going to get business through manipulation or you're going to get through inspiration. Right? As a business owner, I like to do things through inspiration because, you know what, this is what my value is, this is what I provide, this is what the rest of the industry provides. So you go here, you're probably going to get hurt, you're probably going to cap out. Over here, guess what? This is my chain of results, this is my track record, this is what I can provide to you. And that's really what you have to look at. If you look down the manipulation path, what do people do? They price drop, they offer sales, and usually in our businesses, who are your worst clients? The people you've given deals to because they try to get another one, they try to get another one. And it's this basically never-ending cancer, this cancerous growth that keeps happening. Because what happens? Then their friends find out, and their friends try to ring you for every dollar you have. And you know what? We only have so much time to provide the service that we want to provide. Anyways. Yeah, they pay for who they are, not what they do. So essentially, the formula for uniqueness is market average. What's greater than that is exceptional results in service. That just kind of sums up what we were talking about. And what I'm talking about is start with why. And I wanted to actually keep this very short, but I wanted to open up for like Q&A, kind of a group little mastermind. So I would actually like to invite Elias up here because he's been talking about this, and it kind of feeds into what he's doing next week. And oh, sorry, I should have told you about this.
That's all right. I'm ready to go, man. I'm always ready.
It's a very interesting, unique scenario with Edwin talking about positioning yourself as a unit of authority in the community, and then how to be a productive networker, which is what Elias is talking about. So let me invite him up, and let's open up for Q&A. I mean, everybody has struggles with what they're dealing with. So let's do that.
Love this shirt. I love the mic, by the way. Love the shirt. Nice. Who loves the shirt? Who loves Sean's shirt here? Yeah, give Sean a big round of applause. That's a great way to stand out. That's like a keyboard approach there with the purple, but you're like the fluorescent green, right?
Okay. Questions? Anyone?
Give us an example of how your business is different from any other fitness trainer.
Okay, so one of the things I talk about when I do my specific business is when we have a referral group that I was talking to Rick that I did a presentation on last week, and I said everybody else is looking at a very core fundamental formula: calories in versus calories out, and they're randomizing their workouts. What I talk about is, guess what? This is why that doesn't work. Right? You eventually physiologically cap out after 3 months. That's why programs like P90X rarely work after the first cycle. That's why general people who are randomizing their cycles, why you cap out, why you notice people get their peak of results initially. This is how body adaptation works. And this is what I do. I take a more linear approach. This is why I work scientifically. And basically then I go back to social proof of what I've provided for people in the time frame. But I try to take my knowledge is worth this much because everybody else is randomizing what they're doing and they're average. And that's kind of how I do it. And very strategically, what I'm looking at is I'll start here with the pricing of everything that I'm doing for the one-on-one service, and I price in the gaps. So there's no reason somebody shouldn't train with me, but for the range of services that I offer, I'm pricing in the gaps as well. So whatever level people want to come in, they'll get that service level versus not getting it at all. So it's just market differentiation because everybody's trying to just do the group training. But anyways, yeah, do you have anything to say about that?
I agree. You have to offer, you have to give people more options. For example, and I'm not trying to pitch my business, I always say this, but I'm an insurance broker. What differentiates me from a captive agent, which is State Farm Farmers, Allstate AAA agent? They have one company. I have over 100 carriers. I can shop and find people the best possible solution based on not only price point, which is what everybody who wants to save, they want to save money on their insurance, but they want to be covered properly. So we're looking to find the proper coverage at the best possible price, and I provide that as a service. And so there are more options, just like you're offering there. It's kind of like back in my days working for Max Office Depot in retail management, we used to have configured order computers, which they have. You configure it to what you need and what you want, and you configure and customize the program for your clients, right?
Very true.
Is that pretty close?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I actually forgot to bring up in that point is how do you have raving fans of your service? Angelo, who's one of my clients, who was actually talking before I showed up at our referral group this morning, and he was talking about how he was getting this result with his lower body, this result with his upper body. He was talking about how he was able to change the variables so he got the desired result, less soreness, and more effect where you wanted more effect, and less effect where you needed less effect. That's, and that's a symptom of somebody who doesn't try to fit every square peg into a round hole. Somebody who's able to give a very customized approach to every client. Okay, next question.
How long did it take you before you were profitable?
In my business, considering it's a very low overhead business, it was almost immediately because I rent space based on use in specific locations.
I was going to say, it sounds, what you're talking about sounds like providing exceptional value to a customer, actually listening to what their needs and requirements are, and meeting and exceeding what they're looking for.
Exactly.
People are willing to pay for the value in what you do if you do it well. And so you actually do have to perform at a greater level.
You do.
You have to be passionate about what you do. And you have to differentiate yourself by providing that value, not just that cookie cutter approach.
Yeah, very true.
In my business, I work with 30 other salespeople, and they go by the book.
Yeah.
And I break the rules, and my success is off the charts. Their success is the same as everybody else. So you have to provide that extra little bit, like what you're saying. Provide that, and I call it value.
Yeah, very true.
Provide that value to the customer.
Okay.
And just as a question, actually, I want to add, and use you as an example. Rick actually sat down with me, was sort of a one-on-one, but I actually was talking specifically about his product I was actually looking for my business. And what I liked about what he did was he listened, which is number one. And I had some really, we're still dealing, I have some very complicated issues. And what I liked was Rick went out of his way to try to figure those out. And I want to add something to what we are one-on-one when we talk. Something I think that you didn't bring up, which we talked about, I thought was important for you, is you need to find your niche. Too many people are out there trying to, obviously there's certain things like, even yours, you have a niche. There's an area that you specifically work in. But too many people are out there trying to sell their product to everybody, rather than trying to figure out who they best fit with. But the other thing too, in your case, was one thing I thought made you stand out was you are not intimidating as a trainer. A lot of times you go out there and you talk to trainers, and there's a sort of attitude about them, and you always feel like, do I really want to put myself through this? And what happened was, what I liked about Shawn was that Shawn had discovered what his niche was. And he's been working that niche. And what I liked about him is that he fits in very, very well with that niche. Like we were, I won't say what we were talking at, but he knew everybody that came up to the table, introduced people around where he knew the room. And with this particular niche of people, there's an ego, I think, involved. And what I liked is he let their ego still be there, but still provide his expertise, if that makes sense. So I think you'd be very, very careful about looking for your niche. And I think it's one of the biggest problems that I have with networking, is that I find a lot of people have to figure out what their niche is. And they're trying to sell, ice to an Eskimo, when they should be going a different route.
And that's talking about the manipulation standpoint, which kind of stems from desperation. And if you're more concerned about providing exceptional service, it might take a little bit more time to build up your business and the quality of business, but if you really look at the quality of business, these are people who don't mind paying a higher price or a more consistent customer over time, as opposed to somebody who's, let's call it a pain in the ass client. That's, when I started, I actually got into a bit of that until I learned that, just have faith, stay firm, know what you're providing. And I still have some of those clients because, they're friends and family and stuff like that, but they give me the most trouble out of anybody else. And I have to answer the most emails, I have to change my time the most. It's the least consistent. The people who are my specific niche, which is business owners, more high-end executives. One, financially, it's not that much of a drop in the bucket. And two, they understand the value of, I'm great at what I do. I'm going to hire somebody who's great at what they do to take care of that need for me. So, next question?
I just wanted to comment on that. You need to fire those PIA clients, man. They're wasting your time and emotional energy when you could be doing something else. In due time. How much due time?
Next week, he's talking about firing your clients.
Yes.
Or charge them twice as much.
There you go.
They fired himself.
What's 2 times 0?
Any more questions?
With new fitness programs coming out almost monthly, like Zumba and UNDX, where do you turn for additional education?
I actually regularly read the journals and the studies. You know, Journal of Exercise Physiology, National Strength and Conditioning Association puts out a lot of quality studies, and I tend to look for more of like the Mike Boyles. How do I say it? One of the places I went to look for, I started Men's Health Top 10 Places to Train, and I started following the chain of what they were reading. And then if you look at it, everybody else they're kind of falling for the marketing of P90X, and they're saying, okay, I don't have time to plan a program because I don't know how to, and that's actually a lot of 90% of the industry. That I don't know how to program, so they're like, okay, I'm going to find somebody on the internet, and I'm going to give it to my woman clients this, and I'm going to give my male clients this. And it's really, you'll see that, and you know, I've actually had people say, you know, where'd you learn that circuit? Oh, I learned from P90X. Or, you know, you'll go to a gym in town, and all their trainers are, whether you're an 80-year-old woman or a 20-year-old male, they're giving CrossFit circuits, you know, lifting heavyweight powerlifting without proper coaching to their clients because it's the greatest workout you ever get. And they're still working on that basic caloric deficit formula, and there's really no periodization. You'll find Jason Calibo owns NorCal CrossFit, who just set a world record again in his specific events. He does actually a more periodized program closer to what I do. And he does regular training as opposed to just the CrossFit training. He does that, that's just his specific event training. You'll find that the best people in the industry, they leave these patterns behind, and you just have to find how you fit within that pattern in that industry. Who are the top practitioners? What can you do better? What can you provide extra? And that's really where I'm trying to find myself. So, yeah, but, oh yeah, also just going back to, I'm looking, who's training Olympians, who's known for being exceptional at what they do, who's known for providing exceptional results, time after time after time. And that's really what I'm referencing.
Is your program geared on fast results, or is it the opposite? Because I know a lot of these gyms and trainers, they're into putting you on a program, and usually the customer or the client is in the state of mind of getting, you know, quick results.
Yeah.
So is your program more of a tailored to the customer? Is the result slower or what?
It's more geared toward lasting results, because you can still get the caloric deficit, but most of the time is, what I do is, when you really look at it, they do metabolic conditioning the whole workout. And what do you see? 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 15. You'll see this change whenever you go to a gym working with somebody who doesn't know how to periodize. But I actually have people do more heavy lifting than you would expect. And the reason I have them do that, and it's more of a linear growth where I'll start them out at 85 pounds, and then finding a lot of new research is saying that the stuff they were doing in the 70s is actually some of the most effective stuff you can do today.
Yeah.
And the way your muscles work is, my aerobic system is working right now just standing, but rarely do people get into the contraction activation level that really causes muscle growth, that really causes your body to burn more afterwards. So I start that and I kind of taper off at the end of the workout. So I really manipulate the systems, the fuel systems of the body, so to speak, very well. So it does give people better results, but it gives them longer results because you need a little bit of lean mass growth. You need a little bit of it, but you can limit that based on the variables that you put in there. Most people just do metabolic conditioning the whole way through.
Do you have credentials and all that stuff to go
Oh, yeah.
behind the title?
Oh yeah, but most of the stuff that I learned, I'm working on my master's in sports psychology right now, but that's just a head game. Most of the stuff I've learned is throughout what I was mentioning, reading stuff like Todd Durkin, Mike Boyle, Charles Baldwin, just people like that in the industry. And I've spent a couple weeks at IMG Academy in Florida. That's part of where the NFL players go, and Madden football camp is, Voluntary Tennis Academy, and I've learned from the coaches there. And so I probably invest more in continuing education that's equivalent to probably the top 10% of the industry. And that's just something I learned from Todd Durkin, who owns a facility down in San Diego. So he's trained several NFL players, baseball players. Drew Brees, he trains Drew Brees, LaDainian Thompson, Aaron Rodgers. So just world famous guy who travels 40 times a year to teach conferences. But that's, I just hunt down the best source of information.
That's pretty impressive.
So,
because I know that type of background and credentials and stuff like that will definitely raise your value. Yeah. I've been to the gyms in my past, and I've dealt with people who work there that don't have that kind of, credentials, and they're training you to lift all sorts of weight and do all this aerobics and stuff like that. And the dropout percentage is so high.
Because they pound you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And you can do it with very limited soreness. And unfortunately, one of my clients, he got a lot of soreness, but it was such a low volume of work. And I said, okay, what we need to do is we're going to drop this volume down to half, and we're going to just build up from there. And he said, for example, my lower body's exceptionally sore, my upper body's not sore at all. And I said, okay, well, let's up the volume there, and let's lower the volume there. And next workout, he still had a little bit of left over, but he said it's a lot better. I can actually move and function, and there's you just know how to manipulate the variables. But you'll find credentials are credentials, but the best source of information in the industry comes from successful people in the industry. The worst trainer I've actually ever seen in my life had a master's degree. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. And one of the best I've seen was actually just really investing in continuing education, going through the whole path, and just really learn very pertinent information and how to apply it. And that's the problem with the industry. It's very lowly regulated. And so any kid with $200 who works at 24 Hour Fitness can get a shirt and call himself that. But to become a true human movement specialist, it takes a lot. And I did it for 7 years, and I did 5 years of startup work in between. But in this, now going into my second year back, I've actually learned more here, and I was training, like everybody else did the 7 years. But after just kind of meeting some exceptional people, I've started going down that path. But that's it. So, any more? All right, let's call it a day.
Give Shawn a big round of applause. Awesome information. I'm looking forward to next week to furthering your conversation in a different way on another aspect on how you can stand out and get people to actually call you for your business. Now we're going to close the meeting with upcoming events and announcements. Please welcome back to the stage Mr. Len Waller.
Thank you, Elias. Did Shawn do a great job? Did he exercise our motivation?